Hey everybody, and welcome back to another weather sim forecast. And in today's forecast, we're going to be talking about Hurricane Imelda and Hurricane Humberto, as we are looking at a little bit of a different trend compared to what was in the forecast over the past few days. We were expecting Hurricane Imelda to make impacts to the Carolinas and even parts of the East Coast, but it turns out we will be seeing a little bit of a different situation this time, to where it looks like Hurricane Imelda is going to be making an eastern turn instead, which we will talk about why in just a second, but we will also be talking about what we could see in the future in terms of the tropics, and then we will also be talking about the weather pattern that we can expect in the United States as we head into the future. So let's first start off by talking about Hurricane Imelda and Hurricane Humberto. You can see that Imelda, Tropical Storm Imelda, which is forecasted to become a hurricane, but for right now it is Tropical Storm Imelda, which is currently bringing tropical storm impacts to parts there of the Bahamas. So if you are traveling there, or if you are still continuing to stay in the Bahamas, make sure you are still using caution, as the northern part of the Bahamas, especially the areas that line up with Florida, are still continuing to see those impacts from Imelda. And then we also got Hurricane Humberto, which actually became one of the strongest storms this year, just right after Aaron. So we are also going to be watching Hurricane Humberto, since Hurricane Humberto is actually going to be the influencer on why Imelda is making that eastern turn, because you can see that Imelda is actually going to be turning out to the east. This is Tropical Storm Imelda, and this is Hurricane Humberto. You can see that Hurricane Imelda is actually going to be pulled by Hurricane Humberto, but the answer is why? Well, if you look closely, you can see that we got these winds from Hurricane Humberto overlapping Imelda like this, where you see that blue is wind from Hurricane Humberto just wrapping right around Imelda, which then drags Imelda right towards Hurricane Humberto, as you can see, since both of the winds from Hurricane Humberto and Hurricane Imelda are connecting to each other. And then you can see how they both become part of the jet stream by the time we head into October 2nd. And then after that, you can see how once they become part of the jet stream, it's actually going to create a much stronger part. Now, keep in mind that we're not really concerned about that, since the strongest part of the jet stream will be impacting areas way out to our east, but I just wanted to share that with you guys, just in case you guys were wondering about why Hurricane Imelda did not bring impacts to the United States. And like I said, Hurricane Imelda, or Tropical Storm Imelda rather, is expected to become a hurricane, which is why I'm saying that, but it will then start to become part of Hurricane Humberto, and like I said, also become part of the jet stream by the time we head into October 2nd, which is when we won't really have to be watching them anymore. And then you can see that once they head away, we will still be watching the tropics very closely, as we could still have maybe a few small waves come off of Africa and potentially develop into some tropical system. Now, keep in mind that that is still very uncertain as of right now, and you can see how the latest from the GFS model just shows it stalling out. But like I said, we are heading very far out now. We are actually heading all the way out to the middle of October, and like I said, that is something that we're going to watch very closely, since it does look like October is going to be one of our most active months this hurricane season. But for right now, though, it is still going to remain uncertain in terms of when we'll see our next hurricane, and if we'll even see a hurricane during the month of October. But for right now, our main focus, like I said, is going to be Hurricane Imelda and Hurricane Humberto until they become part of that jet stream. And that's why we're going to watch it very closely, but like I said, it's not really something we need to worry too much about since it does not look to bring impacts to the United States. Let's also look at what we could see as we head into the future, because like I said, I think October is going to be one of our most active months in terms of tropical activity. You guys can see that for October 1st through the 7th, which will be for the first week of October, you guys can see that the forecast is saying that we will have an area in the main development region seeing about a 20% chance of tropical storm formation. And I know it's kind of hard to see, or I know you guys might not be able to see it because of how it might be cut off, but where you see those red white stripes, that's where we got about a 20% chance of development. And then where you see that red color, which especially includes areas of the eastern Pacific, we got about a 40% chance of development. And then where you see the maroon color, which I'm not really seeing any of that, that would be a 60% chance. But for right now, we're mainly just looking at between about a 20 to 40% chance of tropical storm development, either in the Atlantic Ocean or over there in the eastern Pacific. So that's why we are going to watch October very closely, as there is still looking like we could potentially still be looking at some more tropical storms or maybe even a few hurricanes by the time we enter that period. Now, the other thing I want to look at is what we could see in terms of our weather pattern, like I said, because even though our main focus is Hurricane Humberto and Hurricane Imelda, we are actually seeing a pretty quiet weather pattern across the United States. And like I said, that's the main reason why we've been talking about those two. And you guys can see that for right now, it's pretty quiet, as we do have two high pressure systems currently dominating. But then we will see some more low pressure systems roll on through by the time we enter the month of October. You guys can see by Saturday, October 4th, we do start to see some rain and even a little bit of snow over here in the Rocky Mountains, especially where you see those blues. If we zoom in, you guys can see how there is a little bit of blue showing up. That's all because of the cooler temperatures in the higher elevations, and I just thought I would point that out just in case you guys were wondering. And then you guys can see that as we take this forward, we actually continue to see rain, storms, and like I said, even a little bit of snowfall in the higher elevations. So that will be something to watch very closely, as maybe a few inches are possible, but we're not going to talk about snowfall just yet since we haven't gotten started with snowfall, but we will let you guys know once we get a little closer to that. And then you guys can see that once it heads out, we are looking at maybe another quiet pattern, as we got another high pressure system coming on in, but we just continue to see more and more low pressure systems come on in. Probably by the time we reach October 12th is when we could maybe start to see some more rain and even some storms roll on into parts there of the Ohio Valley, and that's when I do think we'll start to see a little bit more in the way of an active weather pattern. So October is definitely one of the months to watch, to say the least, not just due to tropical activity, but also given the fact that we are going to potentially see parades of storms roll on through, including rain, storms, and maybe even a few of these bringing some severe weather. So that's exactly why we are going to continue to watch October closely, especially as we continue to see the models show this, which we will keep you guys updated on that. And then just so that way you guys understand what's happening, I just wanted to show you guys that, like I said, we are in a pretty quiet pattern right now, as we don't have any severe weather currently in the forecast, and you guys can see that we don't even have any thunderstorms in the forecast by the time we head into our Wednesday, but we could maybe get a few around, not just today, but even as we head into your Tuesday, which will be tomorrow. So still, showers and storms are possible, but it's gonna be pretty quiet overall, given the fact that we don't have any dark green showing up, which means we're not expecting severe weather, and nor is there a lot of light green showing up, especially as we head into Wednesday, like I said, which means it is expected to be a pretty quiet pattern overall. Which let's actually show you guys that on the Climate Prediction Center outlook, because like I said, we are currently dealing with above normal temperatures as of right now in the east, especially where you see that maroon color. That means well above normal temperatures are likely, and then the reason why we may be getting a little bit of snowfall over here in the higher elevations is because we're actually going to start trending a little bit below normal by the time we head from October 5th all the way to October 8th, and that's the 6 to 10 day outlook. But the 8 to 14 day outlook continues to show above normal temperatures for much of the United States, but not as high though, not as high of a chance of above normal temperatures compared to the beginning of October, but still we do still continue to stay above average even by the time we head into October 12th. And then like I said, the reason why we're in a quieter pattern is because not only are we going to be trending below normal across the northwest and as well as the northeast and Ohio Valley, but you can see that as we head a little bit farther out, it looks like we're going to be pretty close to where we should be, since we're looking at more near normal to maybe slightly above average precipitation, and that would mainly be if we see anything come on in from the tropics. Otherwise, I do think it is going to be once again a little bit quieter. It doesn't mean it's not going to be active at all, but we will be seeing once again a little bit of a quieter pattern compared to what we've been dealing with, despite maybe a few storms rolling on through the northern plains and maybe even the upper Midwest, bringing some rain and storms like I said, but it's not going to be anything crazy as we're not expecting severe weather, at least not at this time. But thank you all so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, as we will continue to keep you guys up to date with the latest on what we can expect with the weather pattern that we'll be seeing. And make sure to also give this video a thumbs up. Make sure to also turn on all notifications so that you guys can stay up to date on the weather and also not miss out on any of my videos or live streams that we do here on this channel. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday out there, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Thank you all so much for watching, and goodbye.